Well, thank you, Ginger and Mike, and welcome everyone to the room and people who are streaming us online. As you know, every person with CF has their own unique story. And for the past 3 years at this meeting, at the Volunteer Leadership Conference, people with CF have joined us on stage or joined us virtually on the screen to share their experiences with CF. And they've shed light on various aspects of the disease, offering guidance, and also connecting with many of you in the community. I know those stories have resonated with so many people who've listened. So this year, we would like to introduce 3 adults living with cystic fibrosis who each will share their unique story. And in addition, we will introduce a spouse, 2 siblings, and a mom, people who don't have cystic fibrosis, but who also have that experience of living with the disease. So this is their CF story. And are we on? We are not yet on screen. There we are. Terrific. So Linda Bowman, who's from South Florida, will be moderating the discussion. She's here on stage with her husband, Mike. And joining us from Fort Worth is Paige Montgomery and her brother, Charlie. And Sister Katie from Houston. And in Connecticut, we have Mara Cray and her mother, Sharon. So join me in welcoming these incredible individuals as they share their stories with us. And thank you, Linda and Mike.
Thank you, Drusy, for that introduction. As Drusy said, my name is Linda, and this is my husband, Mike. I'm 56 years old, and I have cystic fibrosis. Thank you. I have to say real quick, I'm completely overwhelmed by this. It is amazing room full of passion, energy, and joy, and I'm really excited. So I live in South Florida with Mike, and I want to welcome the entire audience. Over 650 people are here at the conference. And we have nearly 500 people live streaming. So that's incredible. That's really incredible. It's our biggest yet. This session is intended to share conversations about our stories as people with CF and our relationships with our family members. The discussion you hear is the opinions of the participants, and they're very real and very personal. This is the 4th year that we've had a panel at VLC led by adults with CF, but this year we are introducing a new format. It's incorporating the voices of family members. While the format will be a little different, we still encourage questions, and you can submit them during the presentation using the online platform. Whether you're here with us in the audience or watching from home, you can submit questions through your phone, your tablet, your laptop. Just open your browser and I'll read you the site. Type in cff.cnf.io. Again, that's cnf.io. And click on the name of this session, which is Our CF Story, and go ahead and submit your questions in real time. We will do our very best to answer those as time permits. So our first pair is Mara and Sharon. Hi, guys. Who are joining us from Connecticut. And as a mother and daughter, Mara and Sharon have a special bond. Mara started college last fall and is living on her own for the first time. Mara, would you like to introduce yourself?
Yes, I would. Thank you, Linda, so much for introducing me, and to everybody there at the conference. We're very excited to be here to share our story. So my name is Mara. I'm a 20-year-old cystic fibrosis patient. I was diagnosed at birth, and the bewitching person beside me is my mother.
Hi, everybody. I'm Sharon. We're so happy to be here, and I've had the honor of being this little young lady's mom for 20 years now, and she's pretty special.
So today we'd like to share our story. It was kind of unique growing up with CF, and definitely it was unique the way my family handled it. I think we made the most of it. We really did. We would actually use my compressor for my breathing treatments to inflate balloons and then make balloon animals. Pretty sure that's what that equipment is meant for. Yeah. And we would also hijack tricycles out of the PT wing in the hospital when I was admitted, and we would just go riding around the hospital. So, we as horrible as CF is, we really did make the most of it, and we had fun with it where we could. And we were living in a very optimistic time because we were always being told that the cure was right around the corner. And I struggled with CF, but my prognosis was overall good. So I never really thought that I was going to be one of the patients that progressed to the point of needing a transplant or not being able to keep up with school. But that all changed my freshman year of high school. My health took a hit, and I began to decline to the point where I couldn't keep up with school anymore. Out of a 180-day school year, I was missing over half. And so it was a hard time, and we were kind of forced to contemplate alternatives, being online classes. And I was ready. I had been ready for years.
Mara was so ready, and she had been asking us for years to think about doing homeschooling. But I was very reticent. I was really seeing this more as she was falling off that beaten path. This disease was taking something away from her, and that bothered me quite a bit. So I was very reticent. I also had a great experience in high school, and I really was saddened that maybe she would be missing out on some of those experiences.
And I did, and there's no way around that. I mean, my disease did limit it, that was a hard blow. But at the same time, it was the best possible choice for me because I gained back a lot of lost ground, and I got healthier, and I, got my life back, and in the end, I wound up at college. So I made it to college, and that was the name of the game. And but then, I got to school, and I wondered, now what? Because anybody with CF who has gone to college knows that transition is brutal, and it's very difficult, and it called on all of my previous experience. Growing up, I think one of the most important things that we learned was that, Mom instituted the system of have-tos and don't have-tos. Have-tos were treatments and they were school. The don't have-tos were soccer practice and guitar lessons and, everything that was elective that I didn't have to do if I didn't like it. Because she knew that, she had to pick her battles with, what I was being made to do. And plus, that helped me discover my interests, and this came in handy in college because you have to make those same decisions. What's important? And that's true of anybody going to college, whether you're healthy or not. You have to learn to prioritize, and that's crucial if you have CF because you have to get your treatments done. You have to take care of yourself. But at the same time, there's professors and classes and a social life that are demanding just as much from you. So that was really hard for me to learn that balance. And I knew growing up that this disease takes a lot of time and a lot of effort to maintain, but I don't think I had a full appreciation for it until I was doing it alone, how much time goes into it. And also, I did not understand how much time goes into calls with pharmacies and insurance companies and my doctor's office because my mom and my dad were helping out with that a lot. And, so that was a lot for me to take on, and I think, every CF patient reaches that point where you're being really stubborn and you're trying to be as independent as possible and you're trying to take care of everything yourself. but then you kind of have to realize that you need to reach out and you need your support system to help you. And so that's when I kind of had to turn to you.
And I had to let go of that perfect system that I thought I had under my belt for these 20 years. I had to let Mara really figure out how to work in all these things on her own, and I had to let her make her own mistakes, and that was really, hard for me because I thought I had it all figured out.
You did, but I needed a different system because I'm a different person. It's going to be different. We have different styles.
And I had to learn to be more of assume more of a coaching role and let her go. And I just wanted her to know, and I told her, I said, I'm here, and just call me with any questions and I can help you out.
Yeah, and I do that frequently. It was sick because I still have, my support system to lean on, but overall, I was ready for this transition, as hard as it was, because we had been getting ready for this for years. And growing up, and I was talking about this before, we made CF as fun as possible. But, we kind of replaced airway clearance a lot with exercise wherever we could, which is, in my mind, way more effective and also way more fun than sitting there with your vest or with, doing chest PT. My dad would actually, I'm not sure if I recommend this particular setup because it wasn't entirely safe, but I would jump on the bed and he would swing a pillow under my leg. And I either jumped in time or I didn't. But we did stuff like that. And, I also spent a lot of time in front of the TV when I did treatments because that was, a way to kind of pass the time. And it, gave me a love for TV and movies, which is one of the things that I'm studying at school. So it became important to me. But I also wasn't alone when I did treatments.
Well, that's what we made it a point to be with Mara when she was doing her treatments, when she was sitting in front of the TV. I didn't want her to feel like she was isolated or that she was missing something or that she wasn't part of the family. So we really tried, and I think we succeeded most of the time.
No, I think you did.
To have somebody with her so she wasn't, all by herself.
It was important to me too, because I didn't even realize this completely at the time, but if you're with your kid when they're doing their treatments, it tells them that you're ready to deal with their disease. I felt like I was more inclined to, take this on when my parents were there doing it with me, and it made me feel less alone. And there are going to be times when there's nothing you can do, and your kid is just going to feel isolated and alone. And I know that that's been hard on my parents, and that's hard on the CF parents. But sometimes all you can do is just be there, and you would not believe how much it helps. It really does.
So I think the way we got Mara to the point where she is today, where she's very independent and is ready to take on her own care, is we started early. Early and often is how I usually describe it. We started, telling her what cystic fibrosis was and how it affected her body, and age appropriately to figure out, as much as she could understand. And also we explained her medications and how they helped the problems that she had with her cystic fibrosis. We also got her involved in her own care really early. We started having her help us sort her pills into her pill case every week. And what kid doesn't like to play in water? We would have her help us, wash nebulizers.
It's like washing the dishes, yeah. Like our equivalent of washing the dishes.
Get them working early. Yeah. But as she grew and could take on more, obviously our roles had to change. I had to grow with her and let her take over more and more and let her figure out how she was going to do it.
And that did two things. First of all, it really kind of helps with compliance because I was doing more of my care. That empowered me. I felt like I was more in control, and that made me more inclined to take care of myself. And it also got me familiar with my regimen, and I got comfortable with it because when I went off to college and I started doing it all myself, if I had no previous experience with this stuff, it would eat me. I wouldn't have been able to do it. It would have been just too big of a responsibility. So, that really helped. And but and it was, I feel like, as smooth of a transition as possible, but you did
well.
Thank you. But we did learn some surprising things along the way, and we've been talking a lot about, the regimen that goes along and taking that on, but I also kind of learned just in general, and I've always been very close with my family, and we're very tight-knit, and we're a very good support system, and I've always appreciated that. But I didn't realize how much I relied on my parents and my brother for emotional support, because when I went to college, and part of it is, you're meeting new people, and part of it is that, I'm around teenagers all day, and they're not always so comfortable with chronic illness. I'm not entirely open, and this is weird to hear in a forum where I'm talking to, hundreds of people about my disease, but I'm really not that open about my disease with my classmates. Some probably don't even know I'm sick. I don't keep it a secret by any means, but, I am kind of private about it. I live by myself in my dorm, so I can do my treatments in private and everything, and so, when I need support, because I'm going through something, I'm sick, or, just anything else with my CF, I turn to my family because they know it already, and I don't have to explain it to them, and, that's really important for me.
And I guess something that surprised me along the way is a lot of the success stories that we always hear a lot, like a lot of the CF patients that can run marathons or climb mountains or become doctors in 2 years. They are very inspiring, but at the same time, I would look at our situation and think, okay, we must be doing something wrong, or Mara must be a lot sicker than she should be, because she's not only is she not able to keep up with her healthy friends, but now she's not even keeping up with these CF patients.
And she can't do anything.
It started to really weigh on me until I really started to realize that it's just like raising a healthy child. You have to meet the child where they are, emotionally, physically, in every which way, academically, and just help them to be the best person that they can be. And you have to make decisions based on what's right for your child and what's right for your family, and you really can't worry about what the rest of the world is doing. And I think that is really emphasized with CF, because you have the medical side of it weighing on you as well. And I think that you just really have to focus on what is the best for your child and for your family.
And I second that, because, and success stories kind of would get to me too. As inspiring as I find them, it would make me feel terrible at the same time when I was really having trouble, and when I was struggling and I couldn't do, the things I was hearing about. I took 5 years to graduate from high school. I'm a smart lady, but that was hard, because that was a blow, and when you see other people doing it, it's difficult. But my mom had very realistic expectations. And I know that you struggled with that, but in the end you did. You knew what I needed, and you knew what I could do, and you knew my strengths and my weaknesses, and that was really important. And I think that's also, in a way, what took us from that hierarchical mother-daughter relationship to just a genuine equal partnership. And I feel like that's what makes, it's going to sound really cheesy, but that's what makes my relationship with my mother special. We are equals, and we're partners in this.
We're in it together, and we always have been.
Yeah, so that's the Cray story. And but anyway, that's us. And I'm going to pass it back to you now.
Thank you so much, Mara and Sharon. What an amazing journey and a special relationship you both have. It's something that people look up to. Next, I would like to introduce Paige and her brother Charlie and sister Katie, who are joining us from Houston and Fort Worth. Hi, everybody. Are you there? Hi, Paige.
Hi.
Hi, everybody.
Hi. Hi, everyone. As Linda said, my name is Paige Montgomery, and I'm a 28-year-old cystic fibrosis patient, and I am actually just down the road from where y'all are right now in Fort Worth. So welcome to Texas. I hope y'all are enjoying Dallas. I would like to introduce my siblings. My sister, Katie Lyons, who is 7 years older than me. She is married with 3 kids, and they live in Houston. And that's my brother, Charlie Nettles. He also lives in Houston and is married with 2 kids. And in the audience today is actually my husband, Ryan Montgomery, and my mom, Betsy Nettles. And I'm going to embarrass my mom. Mom, will you please stand up? It's her birthday today, and we wanted to wish her a happy birthday in front of everybody.
Happy birthday.
Happy birthday, Mom. Happy birthday, Mom. We love you. Thank you for spending today with us. I have a pretty unique story in that I was diagnosed with CF in early adulthood. I was actually 22 years old when I was diagnosed. This is always shocking to everyone because, as we know, CF starts affecting us early on in life. My mom always tells me that as a newborn, I struggled with asthma attacks. It would turn purple and frequented the emergency room. But this actually was not a red flag to my parents because back then they experienced the same situations with both my sister and my brother. It was not until 8th grade that I started experiencing a chronic cough as well as chronic bronchitis and chronic pneumonia. I was on antibiotics what seemed like every month of high school and college. I had quite a few doctors question the status of my lungs, but we were told that my blood work tested negative for cystic fibrosis. My senior year of college, I was in and out of the hospital with a very severe case of pancreatitis. Again, family members who were in the medical field told my parents and I over and over to have doctors test me for CF, and once again, doctors said that the blood work was negative. It was not until the following year, shortly after my 22nd birthday, that I got pneumonia again. My mom told me if I was going to live in Fort Worth, which my family was in Houston, then I would need to find my own pulmonologist up here because it seemed like most of my symptoms were worsening. As soon as the pulmonologist heard my story and saw my sputum cultures, he immediately ordered a sweat chloride test. Once the results came back that I did in fact have cystic fibrosis, my doctor continued to connect the dots for all of us. As you all know, your parents must have 2 positive mutations to have a kid with cystic fibrosis. However, my father's mutation was very rare, and at that time, my mom's mutation was unidentified. And the general blood panels that are done for CF only test the common mutations. So therefore, only a sweat chloride test could answer all of the questions that we had been asking for quite some time. At 22 years old, you can imagine it came as a shock to my family. However, to me, it was almost like a missing piece to the puzzle. Ever since 8th grade, I had been made fun of as the sick kid in school. But there was finally a diagnosis that went along with the hurdles that I had been facing. On the day that I was going in to get my results from the sweat chloride test, my parents flew in from Houston to Fort Worth, and my boyfriend of only 6 months insisted on being there with us. From the moment I did the sweat test, I felt confident that CF was going to be my diagnosis. However, the statistics that went along with the CF diagnosis were not something that I was prepared for. He told me that I was likely entering into what I like to call an adult onset. He told me that my life expectancy was 32, which was only 10 years away from that moment. He also proceeded to tell me that most cystic fibrosis patients cannot get pregnant, and if they do get pregnant, it was extremely difficult and could cause a lot of postpartum health problems. In one instance, like I said earlier, I was relieved to finally have an answer to all of my problems. But on the other hand, everything he was saying was putting up a larger barrier to all the dreams that I had in life. We walked out of that appointment, and my boyfriend pulled me aside and looked me right in the eye and said, "I promise I will never leave your side. You will never walk through a day of this on your own. This battle is our battle, and I promise to hold you up through every second of it." Ryan proposed to me 6 months later. And just 3 weeks after he got down on one knee, I was in the hospital on a feeding tube. It was shortly after antibiotics to treat one of my CF infections that everything began to spiral downward. I spent our entire 5-month engagement in and out of the hospital on feeding tubes and IV antibiotics. It was quite the introduction to CF, to say the least.
As Paige mentioned, the diagnosis with CF was not a surprise to her. I think she'd known for quite a while, and she was very at peace knowing now that she could capture all her health problems under one name. It was, however, quite a surprise to the rest of the family. On one hand, we were all very grateful for the diagnosis. It gave us a better understanding of her health issues. It gave us direction on getting her the best care possible. And most importantly, it gave us a name to fight for and a battle to support. On the opposite hand, we were all very unsure what this meant. Our parents were very confused as to how they could have unknowingly carried something for their entire lives that would make their daughter this sick. And Katie and I were not certain what this diagnosis meant for the two of us and our existing or nearly existing families. Paige's life was drastically changed with the CF diagnosis, but what was also changed was the way the rest of us lived and planned our lives. CF is something that we now support, think about, and pray for on a daily basis. What we all soon realized after Paige's diagnosis is that this was not going away. It's something that our spouses, kids, and grandchildren will all have to think about and understand for generations to come.
For my husband and I, Paige's diagnosis meant more to us than just how Paige and future generations were affected. We already had 2 kids of our own, one who had already been diagnosed with asthma and other significant breathing issues. I immediately called my OB-GYN when Paige was diagnosed, and she told me I had tested negative to the CF test. However, like Paige said before, once we found out about our parents' specific mutations, we found out that the mutations were not part of the core panel that my OB had tested me for. When my brother and I were retested on a full panel, we found out that we did in fact carry our dad's same mutation. We couldn't help but worry, because what if one of our spouses carried an unidentified mutation just like our mom? Thankfully, all of our kids have had sweat tests with negative results. So now we can just focus on Paige and how we're going to help her overcome this disease.
Paige's diagnosis was a change for the better and the worse. What we now knew to be cystic fibrosis that had bothered Paige and kept her chronically sick for the last 8 years of her life was threatening to take her life with the snap of a finger. Before it had a name, she was just sick. Now that it was called cystic fibrosis, it had taken a hold of her life in a very strong way.
As Charlie mentioned, it was a very dramatic shift in my life. I went from someone who battled pneumonia and bronchitis monthly, but still managed to do every single day life and never miss a beat, to someone who was in and out of the hospital more than I was at home. But my husband kept to his promise and more. He was and still is by my side through absolutely every hurdle, big and small. And no matter who has ever spent time with me, they know that my dream in life is to become a mom. It is all I have ever wanted. I have had this dream of getting married and becoming a mom to 3 little kiddos, raising them at home, filled with so much love and support. I was raised to dream big and to trust that anything is possible. I knew going into pregnancy it was going to be a big risk. I just did not think it would be truly risking my life. But it sure was. I had to go through some fertility to get pregnant and spent 6 of the 9 months of my pregnancy in the hospital. I battled hurdle after hurdle to try to stay alive, and sure enough, we made it 37 weeks, where I delivered a healthy baby boy in June of 2014. Something else I was not prepared for was just how hard life would be with a child at home. In his almost 3 years of life, I have spent over 200 nights in the hospital and have come close to losing my life more than once. In fact, just over a year ago, I had heart surgery and suffered a stroke. I absolutely would not be here today if it were not for the love, support, and constant devotion that my family has shown me, my husband, and our son.
Cystic fibrosis not only takes a team of doctors, but it also takes a team of family members to support. For Paige, having a baby fulfilled her lifelong dream of becoming a mom, just like Mom and I. But just because she had a baby did not mean everything was great. Paige was in the middle of a really rough stretch in her health. And now that she had a baby, she not only needed us to be by her bedside to take care of her, she also needed help with her son so that her husband could be with her in the hospital. Nothing makes us happier than being able to take care of little Ryan. But at the same time, I cannot be by her bedside taking care of my little sister, and I struggle with that personally every time. In December of 2015, Paige was at one of her sickest moments in the hospital in Denver. I remember being on the phone with our mom, who was with Paige. I could hear the fear in her voice as she was telling me about Paige's status. But then I looked up, and there was little Ryan, happy as could be, running around our backyard with his cousins. He was 18 months at the time and had no idea how sick his mommy was. He sure was loving life, and we were loving being able to take care of him. Months went by with Paige in and out of the hospital, and she was still fighting for her life. I'd be lying to you if I didn't tell you that I never woke up in the middle of the night wondering if 4 kids would be our new normal at home. Even if she was going to survive this fight, we were all scared she would never have the strength to take care of little Ryan on her own. But just as we were all on the cusp of giving up hope, thanks to modern medicine and the medical advancements of the CF Foundation, Paige has made more improvements than we ever dreamed possible. In closing, I want to speak directly to all the siblings and family members out there. I just want to encourage you to never give up fighting for your family member. It's so hard to watch them lie in that bed struggling, and as helpless as you might feel, you are making a true difference in their lives by supporting and encouraging them.
As most of you listening today know, this disease is hard on the family as a whole. It takes an army of people to fight this disease. Not only do the patients need love and support, but we need our family there advocating for us every single step of the way. My family is absolutely everything to me. Unfortunately, this disease does not just affect our lungs. It affects our entire bodies. And just like this disease does not just affect our lungs, it does not just affect the patient. It affects the family as a whole. And that's why all of you are in this room and online listening know that we need to learn about this disease. We need to know how to love and how to live a more purposeful, vibrant, and energetic life in whatever capacity this disease affects your life. Thank you all for being here tonight. Thank you so much for listening to the story that I share with my family. I hope you'll have an amazing rest of your trip in Texas. And more importantly, thank you all so much for every single thing that you do to help all of us battling this disease. We will find a cure one day soon.
Thank you, Paige, Charlie, and Katie. It's wonderful that you've stayed so close and support one another so much. I actually know what that's like. I have my brother and sister here in the audience today, and it means the world to me. So, now I guess that leaves Mike and my story. And unlike the stories you've heard before, Mike didn't know me when I was young or when I was first diagnosed. But
Instead, my best friend and his girlfriend set us up on a blind date. And we all went out, and I met Linda, and I was like, wow, she's really interesting. I really want to get to know her better. But I didn't ask her for her number because at the time I was seeing somebody else, and I had to end that relationship. Yeah. So about a month later, I called Linda, and she says, yeah, we can go out. So we started dating, and I noticed Linda was coughing quite a bit. And, I would ask her about it and go, what is that? And she goes, she'd either blow it off, say she had a cold, or attribute it to her diabetes, which she did tell me she had, but she didn't let me know anything about cystic fibrosis.
At the time, I didn't want to tell Mike that I had cystic fibrosis because back in those days, my life was pretty much a secret when it came to my disease. I didn't share it at all. So I just wasn't even comfortable telling him. But at the time, my dad had kind of pulled me aside and said, I think you need to tell Mike about your disease. He seems to be getting pretty serious about you, and he really deserves to know the whole picture. And I thought that was, yeah, because he should know in case he wanted to.
So she did just that. So she told me, I have cystic fibrosis. And I'm like, cystic fibrosis, never even heard of it. This was back in 1988. It wasn't like I was getting on my smartphone and Googling it up, right? So.
No Google, no internet.
Right. So I said, I was like, well, I could go to the library and look it up. And she looked at me and said, please don't do that because that will scare the hell out of you. And it did. When she was telling me about the life expectancy thing, I was a little overwhelmed. I was like, wow, am I going to be able to deal with this? Here I am looking at somebody who doesn't look sick, but she's telling me about this progressive disease.
And it was a strange feeling because as he's dealing with this news, I'm wondering how is he actually feeling? I've never put myself in that position before. I never was vulnerable. I never shared it. So I was wondering, what is this guy really thinking? And that was pretty frightening to me.
So I asked Linda to go up to Georgia with me for Thanksgiving to meet my parents. And Linda looks at me and she asked me, please do not share this. And I was taken back and I was like, wow, okay, what's going on? And she told me about how her whole life she has kept this disease a secret. And I could see the concern and the fear in her eyes. So I agreed and I didn't say anything to my parents.
And it was, we did end up going and seeing his parents. And I remember at that time I was having an incredible amount of digestive issues. So I was in and out of the bathroom at their home. And his mom was questioning Mike, saying, what the heck is wrong with this woman? And asking him if I had anorexia. So it was uncomfortable for him and uncomfortable for me.
Yes, it was. But fast forward a couple of months and I'm proposing. I'm like, okay, we're going to put these diseases back in my mind and we're going to move forward with our relationship. We got married a year to the day from our blind date.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I remember right before we got married, I was going through a really bad infection. My mom was really concerned. How was I going to go on my honeymoon? And I was really concerned about it because I I didn't know, yeah, I'm in love, I'm getting married, but I still didn't know how Mike was going to deal with me being ill or sicker. And so a lot of things were running through my mind at that time. You know, how is he going to handle it? What's going to happen? Am I going to ruin my honeymoon?
So things were going well for our first year of our marriage. And Linda proposed that we quit our jobs and we travel. And and we get jobs wherever we end up. Well, we used to say I was definitely not on board with that idea. I was all about, you know, security, my job, and just, you know, taking care of things at home. But Linda had an idea to do this because she wanted to do something different. She wanted to do something big. And she wanted to do it while her health was still pretty decent. You know, I wish that I would have gotten it back then, because in hindsight, I wish we could turn back the clock, but now that's not an option.
And you know, I didn't realize that at the time when I'm proposing this to Mike. All I'm thinking about is big ideas, and we got to do it now before something, you know, happens. And plus, I just wanted to, I had never moved out, never lived on my own, wanted to get the heck out of Florida and just do something crazy. So that never happened, as you can see. We talked about having children early on in our marriage. And I wanted children really, really bad. I'm definitely a mom at heart. I have a nurturing way. I love kids. And that whole conversation, the idea of talking about having children, reminded me of a horrible appointment I had when I was 18. It was my first GYN appointment. I went with my mom. She was out in the waiting room when I came out, and she said, how did it go? And I said it was horrible. He was really brutal and in his words, and I said, I just can't believe. The second he examined me, he said, there's no way you're going to get pregnant with all that mucus in there. And that kind of, I'm 56 now, and that still bothers me to tell that story, because it really affected me back then.
Yeah. Linda and I spoke to her CF doc about having kids, and he was definitely telling us that's not a great option for us, basing it on current studies at the time, and the information that we even heard about from other people. We knew somebody who had CF, a woman who had CF, and she did have a baby, and a year later she passed, and we heard several other stories like this from her doc.
You know, I just want to make a little disclaimer, but, you know, back then, we're talking about a long time ago, and, you know, it was a whole different picture for a CF woman to have a baby, to even consider it. And now there are so many advancements, and it's so awesome that CF men and women are having children and having families. I'm not saying that that's easy today. It's still not easy. But it was a whole different world back then.
Yeah, it was. That being said, we thought a great deal about adoption. And we had a lot of discussions on this because I was more concerned about the toll that it would take on Linda's health. And the thought of it reducing her time here, or losing her, was not an option for me. So we definitely were not on the same page with that, and it caused a lot of stress in our home.
I know that it's hard for Mike to talk about that because he kind of felt like he was the one that kind of laid down the law, no, we're not going to have kids. And I knew what it would do to my CF, but part of me did want to take that chance, even having conversations that my sister offered to carry her child. So it definitely was a long process of back and forth. Did you want to say something?
Nope. Give me a little bit. Give me a minute.
I'd give him a minute. But you know what? So we don't fall apart up here.
Yeah.
Although we haven't been blessed with our own children, we sought out so many opportunities to give back. We worked with kids in our church, youth group. We did that for a long time. We mentored kids from children in distress. We coached. We volunteered all we could, really. And we spent a lot of time actively participating with our 2 nieces and nephew, which was incredible joy.
Yeah, I began coaching teams which my nephew played on, and I really immersed myself in sports. It was a passion of mine. I just absolutely loved it. And a shout out to my nephew who's here in the audience with us today. And it's you.
I remember being at my niece's college graduation, and I remember shedding some tears of happiness. And, like most parents or relatives, you know what that's like, shedding tears of happiness, watching your child go down and, the aisle and getting their diploma and such. And, but mine was, a mixed bag of emotions. I remember my brother looking over at me thinking, what's going on? And, there was a wash that just came over me, and it still does every time there's a celebration. And I just think, I can't believe I'm here. Wow, I'm here and I'm breathing this in, and it's amazing. It's just so amazing to me. And every time that I celebrate with somebody in my family or a friend or something fabulous like this event, I'm grateful.
Linda. Linda was working full time when we got married, and after a while she got sicker. So she decided she tried part time, and that didn't work either. And then soon it just became too much, and she ended up having to stop working altogether.
It took me almost 3 years to get approved for disability, and so I went on Mike's insurance plan through his job, and I was being denied for a lot of my treatments, a lot of meds, and most importantly, I was being denied for my CPT.
Yeah, so we were fighting with the insurance company, and they started asking a lot of questions about me and, what was my schedule like? Why couldn't I do CPT? And I couldn't even imagine it doing CPT. I'm like, God, it's like beating my wife. And I was like, wow, I can't even believe you're asking me to do this, but I knew it was for her health. And, but I'm not a respiratory therapist. I don't know how to listen to her lungs. I can't tell what's going on in there. So, we continued to fight with them on that, and we ended up I did try the vest for a while, and for me, it wasn't adequate. I went on it for about 3 months. My lung functions went down, and I just couldn't get the amount of clearance on the vest that I could with CPT. And I take a really aggressive CPT. I always have, and that's just what works for me. And I definitely want to make a disclaimer, especially here at this event, that I am not promoting one thing or another, and the vest absolutely works for many, many CF patients, but just for me, it wasn't
wasn't the way to go.
Yeah, we were able to speak to a lawyer and sit down with the insurance company, and after several battles, we ended up getting approved for CPT. And, our battles with the insurance still continue today, and it's very stressful, to say the least. Linda was receiving disability, and my income became the main source, and which created a lot of pressure on me, or so I thought. Unfortunately, I didn't convey those feelings to Linda, and it caused a lot of tension in our house, and because I would always be the one saying, "Oh, no worries, we'll get through this."
And the pressure on him became pressure on me. I was also dealing with the guilt of not being able to work, with all of those feelings that come along with somebody telling you can't work. I was feeling less than. There were a lot of things that were going through my mind.
So we decided to go see a counselor to help us out, and this was very good for me because it helped me to open up and share my true feelings with Linda about that and what was going on. And because when Linda gets sick, I go into nurse mode or robotic mode, and I lose the husband factor there. And it's something that I'm working on, but because I don't see my wife, I see the illness. And I see that we have to get this illness beat. And so I miss out on moments on being able to just lay in bed with her and let her know we'll get through this and just be present.
You know what? And he is better because now when he says, "Did you take your med?" he does a little dance before.
Yeah. So after her last bout of IVs, she has to, I guess about 2 weeks later, she's calling me on the phone. She's like, "Hey, I'm falling down." I'm like, "What are you talking about? You're falling down?" She says, "My legs are just giving out." So we contact a neurologist, and he comes in, or we go see him, and he runs a litany of tests, and he's like, "You need to go for the audio test, full audio test." So we go to the location there, and the tech takes Linda back and sticks her into the soundproof room. And I see him come out. And I'm sitting in the waiting room with other folks, and the next thing I know, we're hearing show tunes being sung by Linda. And we're looking up, and evidently the tech left the mic on in the booth, so the speakers were on, and we're all listening. So the woman looks at me. A woman is in the room. She goes, "Wow, your wife sounds like she's having a lot of fun." And I'm like, she's been through a really difficult couple of months, and this is how she deals with it. So I walk back. I walk back into the room and I go, "Lynn, there's a request out there. Can you sing I Did It My Way?"
It was embarrassing. I couldn't believe he told me that they were all listening, but it was funny, and I do get away with doing stuff like that to relieve the tension.
So then she has to go for months of physical therapy. Her balance is bad. Her muscles are pretty atrophied. And I remember how depressed she was when she got that news. So she starts PT and struggled for quite some time as it was difficult for her. And I just remember at that point that, man, my wife goes through a lot. And I wake up every morning, I get dressed, I go to work. It's a normal day for me. And I think about what Linda has to go through. She wakes up, she gets beat on, she has to do aerosols, she has to take pills, she has to do some type of exercise, and it's a constant thing. She's taking 8 to 12 Advil a day for spiking fevers. And I just want her to be able to have that normal day, to whatever that may be for her, but to not have to go through this each and every day, because I can't imagine what it's like on her. And I know what it's like on me when I wake up and I hear the therapy going on. I just want normalcy for you one day.
And I feel, gotta wrap it up. I feel grateful that Mike has been by my side, and he walks with me through the battlefield. I did learn through the years in our journey and a lot of counseling that people can support you and walk with you, and but you're doing it alone. They can't feel what you're feeling. But as long as he takes my hand and walks with me, I'm blessed. I'm blessed. That's our story.
Thank you.
I want to thank Mike for having the courage and the strength to share our story. And I would also like to thank Mara and Sharon, Paige, Katie, Charlie. Thank you so much for your vulnerability, for sharing your story with us. I want to thank the live audience that has been listening and the live stream. And now we're going to go to some questions. So if you have not logged on, you can log on to cff.cnf.io and look up the session, Our CF Story. So we have a question for Mara. As a mom of a 17-year-old, well, I guess this would be for Sharon.
I don't have any 17-year-olds.
How can I best encourage and equip my son as he prepares to enter college? That was for Sharon.
I don't know. I would just start having him take over his care under your supervision, and just make sure that he is aware of everything that's involved in his care, because once he's on his own, it's his ball game, and if he doesn't have any idea how long it takes to, say, do all his treatments, set up his treatments, do his treatments, clean up his treatments, he's not going to be able to do that when he's on his own. So I think just making sure that he has an appreciation for the time that is involved in taking care of himself. And we also visited schools ahead of time and talked to disability offices and made sure that each school that Mara applied to would be accommodating to anything that we felt that she needed. And it's different for every CF patient what you feel that they're going to need once they're in school, as far as rooms and academic accommodations and stuff like that. But doing that ahead of time too actually helped us in Mara's choice, ruling out some schools that maybe weren't so receptive.
We ruled out quite a few of them for this reason.
Well, thank you, Sharon.
Two things.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to. No. We're a little bit over, but, well, here's another one for Mara. Have you had issues living in a dorm environment at college?
I live in a private room, and the room itself is awesome. There was somebody from Residential Life that really hooked me up there and got me a good setup where I can do my treatments on my own and also go to bed whenever, because that's one thing. a lot of people go into college wanting to have roommates, and I'm behind that, and I'd love to live with my friends. But you also have to go to bed, like, at normal hours, like, not at college hours, because otherwise you're going to get sick. That's something to bear in mind. Also, again, I know I've talked about this, I like my privacy for when I do treatments, so I like that. However, it's a college dorm room. The dorm smells like pot, like all the time. Okay, you guys remember college, right? Okay. So, and also, there's just, you're surrounded by, some not so legal activities, just parties and everything. So sometimes it's hard to be around that kind of stuff, especially when you're just trying so hard just to meet bare minimum requirements. I need to get to class, I need to get this work done, I need to graduate. So that's been difficult, but I really, really advise any student to get a private bedroom. Like, even if it's within a suite, get your own bedroom. You're gonna need it.
Right. Thank you. Thanks. Someone asked me, how do you keep the romance alive when dealing with such serious issues? Ugh. Gosh. Singing show tunes. And what is your favorite show tune? Come on, guys. There was it's not a favorite show tune, but back in the day with Sidney Poitier, there was a movie called To Sir With Love, and I love that. And I would sing that song a lot. This question is for Paige. As family members, how do you manage the guilt of being the gene carrier, so for the whole family, or of being healthy when others aren't? So really more for Paige's siblings. You guys there?
Well, was the question the guilt of my siblings not having CF?
Yeah, how do you manage the guilt of, well, it says, how do you manage the guilt of being the gene carrier or of being healthy when others aren't?
I'll be quite honest. Our parents didn't know for 55 years that they carried the CF gene. And I was 29 at the time when Paige was diagnosed. So, for 29 years of being a parent, they had no idea that they could have given this genetic disease to their children. And to be perfectly honest, both of them struggled for a very long time and probably still continue to struggle. Love you, Mom and Dad. You're awesome. But, and for us as the healthy siblings, quote unquote, I don't think we've ever looked at it that way. It's for us, it's only been 6 years since Paige has been diagnosed, so it hasn't been like our whole lives. And it hasn't been like Paige didn't miss out on anything growing up. She didn't miss out on high school. She didn't miss out on college. She didn't miss out on getting married. She didn't miss out on having a baby. For us, I think there hasn't been any guilt for us.
Yeah, and a lot of that speaks to Paige and the person that she is. And like I said, it's like there's such a joy that is surrounding Paige that she goes through really difficult times, but she's always so positive and so uplifting that she's never made us feel guilty. And I think that has played a huge part in us not needing to or not having to feel guilty for her because she's not asking for it from us either.
Very true.
And I've also...
Thank you.
I will say...
Oh, I'm sorry.
Linda, do you mind if I say something real fast?
Yeah, go ahead.
It's also our faith that has got us through it. And I've told my parents over and over that this is not their fault. And to speak to all of you parents out there, this is not your fault. You didn't ask for this mutation. Nobody asked for this. But we have to look at this as a blessing as much as we can, as hard as it is. I think a lot of us CF patients some days would say we wouldn't have it any other way, because it wouldn't make us into the people that we are today, and the daughters and the sisters and the moms that we are. And I haven't had it easy. In the last 6 years, I've averaged 100 to 140 nights in the hospital a year. So yes, I, praise God, have walked through high school and college and got to have a baby, but having a baby was not easy. They actually asked me to abort my son at 17 weeks in a pregnancy to save my life. So it's been really, really, really hard, but every single day I try to look at it as a blessing in a crazy, twisted way. But I just have to lean on my faith and believe in all of that. And to go back to the question about romance, my husband has done a really great job. Being in the hospital 100 plus nights a year, he creates date nights in the hospital room, which I think is really special. And we have spent Halloween in the hospital, Christmas in the hospital, Valentine's Day in the hospital, our anniversary in the hospital. We have spent countless holidays in the hospital, but he still manages to go get my favorite food, my favorite dessert, my favorite gift, something to make me feel special and at home in that hospital room. So to all you husbands and wives out there, just do something, no matter what the situation is, to make your CF patient and loved one just feel cared for and special and not like they're walking through a disease alone. Just continue to tell them that they are loved and cared for no matter what they walk through that day.
Thanks, Paige. We only have a minute left. So the question is for all of us who have CF. Once the cure is found and you are free of CF, what is the first thing you want to do once you are no longer limited by the disease? I'll go first. Mine would definitely be surfing in Australia. Mara?
I think I'm just going to clear out the pharmacy in my house. I'm going to get rid of all of the medications, and I'm going to find something else to put in that space.
There you go.
That was really lame.
There you go.
Organized.
And Paige?
I would have more children if I still could. I want another child really badly, and every single doctor keeps saying, absolutely not, you're a one-child patient only. We're blessed that you made it through pregnancy. So I think I would have more kids, and then, I don't know, go on lots of vacations. Do things that I'm scared of. Ever since I had a stroke, I'm scared of being in isolation somewhere. So go somewhere very far away in the middle of nowhere.
No. Thank you guys so much for joining us, Mara, Sharon, Paige, Katie, Charlie. Thank you so much for this fabulous audience. And thank you for everybody that was live streaming. We'll see you later.
Nice job.
Wow, that was fun.